Hello everyone, I thought I would give a break from theory videos to give you another top 10 video, and this is a good one. I'm going to discuss my personal top 10 theories that were proven to be untrue. A few of them, especially the ones at the beginning, never had much evidence for their side in the first place, but they were still interesting and plausible theories. So with that, let's begin. Number 10. Sardonyx was a different gem than we thought. This one is highest up on the list because it was a totally wild guess on who she was going to be. If you remember a while back, there was a week of Sardonyx, and after seeing an unfamiliar name announced, everyone was totally excited to meet a new gem. Many people had guessed, including myself, on a variety of different possibilities. Despite not having really any evidence for her identity, people got pretty complex with their theories. One I thought was interesting was Sardonyx was a fusion of two new characters, Sard and Onyx. I also liked the thought that Sardonyx was a healed corrupted gem or that she was a homeworld gem. She could have also been a fusion of two characters, and she was. As we now know, Sardonyx is the long-awaited fusion between Pearl and Garnet. Maybe some were disappointed, but at the end of the day, I'm happy with the very awesome fusion that Sardonyx turned out to be. Number 9. Gems start out as babies. There was never really any evidence for this one at all, but I still like the thought that gems were once babies. Almost every alien species in every show starts off as something much smaller than its adult form. And before we knew much about the gem species, it was logical to assume the same for gems. But as we got to know them more, we truly learned how alien they were. In fact, once they come out of the hole in which they were made, they are fully formed. This has led me to believe that gems were created by some other beings and are not a naturally occurring species. That's a bit off topic, but although baby gems would probably be very cute, it is impossible for them to ever exist. And Steven is a half gem, which is why he could be a baby. Don't think I forgot about him. Number 8. Fusion is a lost art among gems. The way fusion was first presented, it simply did not seem like something Homeworld would do. If the crystal gems stand for everything Homeworld hates, then it could have been possible that the crystal gems were the only ones to be currently doing fusion. Fusion was first shown as only being possible with two willing partners that could synchronize and dance. This would not seem like something Homeworld was interested in. And while it is true that Homeworld views fusion differently than the crystal gems, they have not forgotten about it and do attempt to use it to their advantage. However, it is not widely accepted when two different types of gems fuse. Yet fusing with each other may have been one of the main reasons the crystal gems were able to defeat Homeworld when they sought to destroy the rebels. Number 7. Ruby is blind. In the episode Jailbreak, we meet Ruby and Sapphire for the first time, and seeing them separated showed just how codependent they are on each other. It is very soon after we see that Ruby says that she can't see. Some interpreted this as Ruby being unable to see in the first place, and she could only ever see when she was fused. However, the truth was that this statement was actually referring to Ruby losing her future vision that she had had as Garnet. Without Sapphire, she became totally confused and lost, which in some ways also blinded her. Number 6. Steven is only a few years old. I think it would have been very shocking if Steven was actually only a few years old, contrary to how he looks. Most of the evidence supporting this theory is based on the fact that Steven acts very young compared to how old he looks, especially early on in the series. He didn't even know what school was. Another piece of evidence was that he was half gem, and gems are never babies, so it is possible that his growth could have been accelerated. Also, in Too Many Birthdays, Steven was able to age himself to whatever his emotional state was, so perhaps he quickly made himself feel older than he actually was. But what was in fact the truth was perhaps just as much of a shock. It turns out that instead of being 8, 9, or 10 years old, Steven was turning 14 when Steven's birthday aired. So instead of his gem heritage making him look older than he is, it makes him look younger. Number 5. Peridot landed in Canada. There's not much to this theory, but it basically stated that Peridot's escape pod landed in Canada because in Jailbreak when Garnet sang Stronger Than You, this looks to be the location of where Peridot's escape pod was headed. However, this was shown to be false when we later see Peridot's escape pod in Joyride. Many people wanted this to be true mostly to see Peridot's most likely amusing adventures in Canada. Number 4. Lapis Lazuli is Blue Diamond. This theory was most plausible early on in the series, and of course after actually seeing what Blue Diamond looked like, this theory was proven to be false. People may have just jumped to the conclusion that because Lapis was blue and powerful, that she could secretly be a diamond that was hiding from Homeworld, and somehow got stuck in a mirror. Since she was the only blue gem we knew of for a long time, people thought this was a great way to connect a known character with another character of mysterious origin. Also, I could go back to that line that I like to reference time and time again, where Lapis says to the crystal gems, "Do you even wonder who I used to be?" Number 3. Jasper is a fusion. What if Jasper was secretly a fusion? Well, first off, it would make her statement that fusion is just a cheap tactic to make weak gems stronger a lot more hypocritical. Probably the most favorited version of this theory was that she was a forced fusion or a fusion experiment by Homeworld. But either way, there are a few pieces of evidence for this theory, all of which were later disproven to not really be the case either by the creators of the show or the show itself. First, we have Jasper's appearance. She's not only very large and powerful, but also has a colored iris and a pupil, which was rarely seen on non-fused gems. Also, looking at Malachite, she is absolutely huge, making it seem strange that 2 normal gems could create something that big. I never really believed in this theory too much, although it would have been quite interesting if this was actually the truth. Number 2. Rose is blind. This is a theory that goes way back, and was one that I actually thought may have been true until proven false in Lion 3 straight to video. And up until that episode, we had never seen Rose with her eyes open. If you do not believe me, just look at all of Rose's appearances before Lion 3. Her eyes are always closed, even in the picture with her and Greg together. The only small exception to this theory was the mural in Mysterious Steven, but some thought she only opened her eyes to attack. I think it would have been very interesting to make Rose blind, since it is common for blind people to be the ones to see the beauty in everything. For Rose, this would mean the beauty in the Earth and in Greg, who many people did not like until he was seen more in the series. Of course, everyone was proven wrong, but this theory was close to being the best in my opinion, because it had a good amount of evidence and would have been interesting to become true. And before number 1, an honorable mention. Onion is Yellow Diamond. So nobody really believed this one in the first place, and it was almost always a joke theory. But up until seeing Yellow Diamond in the extended intro, people were wondering about this character a lot. And suspect number 1 for most was Onion. After all, he talks in a strange language only a few can understand, attacked the crystal gems, and looks pretty strange compared to most of the other human characters. I don't think this was ever taken seriously, but honestly I don't know how I would feel if this actually came true. And finally, the number 1 theory proven wrong is number 1. Garnet is not a fusion. This was almost obviously number 1 because this theory had a good portion of the fandom split on which was the case. Although Garnet being a fusion had always had more evidence than for her not being one, there were some doubts that this could be a possibility. Most of the evidence against Garnet being a fusion were due to not knowing much about fusions at the time. For example, we did not know if fusions could fuse, and if their weapon had to be a combination of the weapons of the gems that make up the fusion. People were also wondering why Garnet had never split up before, if she was a fusion. She had gotten quite emotional before, and some believe that this should have been enough to split them apart. I actually did make a theory video on this one right when my channel started, so this is quite a throwback. I was on the Garnet is a fusion side since it had more evidence. Of course, some people now would say that the answer is obvious, but that is of course after seeing Jailbreak. Before the episode, Steven Universe was almost a totally different show. So that is the list I have. Tell me if I missed any of your favorite theories proven false. I plan on doing a top 10 list of theories proven right soon, so get ready to see that one sometime soon and subscribe so you don't miss it. Once again, thank you Patreon subscribers. If you want to become one of the awesome people on this list, sign up to become a patron today. Thanks for watching!